What's going on, guys? This your boy Tyreek, Kingdom Diplomat. Hope you guys are doing well. Thought I'd just stop in here real quick. Had some things on my heart to share with you. We're coming up on this Thanksgiving um, holy day, and obviously, in the Christmas is right around the corner, and obviously, there's people that are it's a season of giving, obviously also receiving. It's a season that more people are open to um, hearing the good news of the kingdom of heaven, um, and not, somebody that understands the kingdom of heaven. And believe you me, I'm still learning myself as an ambassador of the country of the kingdom of heaven, and also a kingdom citizen. But as I learn more and more about these five questions here behind me, which is I would say the foundation of this educational and entertainment podcast that the King, the Lord, told me to start. Um, this time of year, just like this time of year, it's relevant, and it is, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? It should here's I would say it like this: it shouldn't be where more people are open in November and December, you know, but it was what it was. It's the culture that we grew up in. More people complain, more people they don't give thanks, and especially in the Western world. But I've talked to people. I've talked to people in I've talked to people in different um, countries before, guys, and third world countries, second world countries, and I'm telling you, there's some of the most positive people I've ever met in my life. It's just amazing to me, what they can find. They can find a good in something. Not all of them, but I put myself in their position. So I'm just very thankful to be one in 17 people born in America. Um, and I don't take that for granted. I did at one point in time for much of my life, and hopefully you guys aren't taking things for granted also too. But yeah, but anyway, so I wanted to hop on here real quick. So here's what I want to talk about. And you know, I know you guys um, have open hearts, and you want to do right, and you want people to do right by you, right? And also, when you're commenting in the section, make sure that you're being respectful and honorable, because if not, I will block you. Okay. So here's here's what I wanted to bring about, because a situation happened with me earlier today with one of my businesses, and actually two situations. So if you've ever read before, um, let's say a best-selling book, and it's an autobiography, a lot of times it's good to read those type of autobiographies about certain situations that people have been through, because they actually experienced it, right? It's something to see something on television, right? Because it's controlled by the people behind the scenes, and and to see something, or maybe hear about something across the country, or locally, or something like that. But when you go through it, or if I go through it, that's a whole nother level, right? You can tell me that pizza is good, right? Real pizza. I'm talking about from my cousins over there in Italy, right? Or some of them are over here also too. And the pizza that I've heard that actually that started in Italy is not actually, it hasn't been Americanized, right? It's original, and I have yet to try that out. I'm looking forward to doing that, but I know, based upon what I've heard, it's really, really good. It's really authentic. Okay, so almost if I'd have got on here a little bit before, I'd have been really, really upset. But sometimes you gotta calm down a little bit, right? You gotta let the flesh subside a little bit, right? I'm human. Well, not human, I should say. I'm a man, right? Because the word human in the Hebrew actually means sea monster. So that's why I stopped calling people human. So if I do it, it's because of my programming. I'm being reprogrammed. Okay. So here's what I want to talk about. This is extremely important to who you are. Okay. Your identity. Oh my gosh. So when you look up the word value, um, actually, I'm just going to read you the definition of it. Okay. See, corporations have core values. Businesses have core values. Um, governments have core values, right? Morals, values, and everything like that. So you should have core values. So my question to you is, what are your core values, right? So for me, my core values are what the king says, okay? Because even though I'm a king of small caps, and whether you know this or not, you're royalty also too, and you're a king also too, right? Small caps. And in the spiritual realm, don't relax, ladies. Spiritual realm, there is no gender. Okay, so we're all kings. We're part of the body, right? Now, if you don't know the king, that's a whole nother topic. But you just keep listening to me. If you have an open heart, open mind, so to speak, and you want to learn, and you don't want to think that you know everything, like at one point in time I did when I was 15, but I was just ignorant and dumb. That's all. Most teenagers are like that. They think they know everything. But anyway, so I'm just going to read you this so I don't get off tangent, because this is extremely important to know your value. If you don't know who you truly are, if you don't know the value that you bring, then people will impose a value on yourself. So, for instance, Michael Jordan shoes. Like, I've never had a pair of MJs. I can get a whole bunch of pair of MJs right now if I wanted to, but because I know who I am, I don't. It doesn't make me valuable, right? I can be in some knockoff, cheap shoes, shirts, pants, whatever, and my self-image can be through the roof. Why? I will walk the same, talk the same, and everything like I'm talking to you now, because my the worth that I place on myself is not according to me having Michael Jordans. It's not according to me being in this country or that country or wherever I go. See, intrinsically, I know who I am, right? And I know who created me. So that right there in itself, out of these five questions behind me that I always like to keep weaving in here and there, is because that's there's five of them. So that's 25%. That's the foundation of the other four right there, your identity. And most people, as researchers say, most people on the planet, I think it was like 95%, 90 to 95% have a very low self-image. And that's because it was done on purpose. And I don't have time to get into that because I'm about to get off here in a few minutes. But what I want you guys to understand, that um, you guys need to understand your core value, what you are, right? So let me just go ahead and read you this real quick. Okay. It says the core meaning of value lies in its fundamental role in as guiding principles. Aha. Principles mean law. Okay. Um, that shapes our behavior, decisions, and interactions. Okay. Um, so now that's the core value. Now let me read you real quick what the word value means. Okay. I'm going to read you two of them. So this is the noun: the regard that something is held to deserve the importance, worth, or a usefulness of something. Number two, a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. So My question to you is where do you get your value from? Where do you get it from? Do you get it from your siblings? Do you get it from your education? Do you get it from, or lack thereof? Do you get, oh yeah, and by the way, if you're hung up on education, did you know that most millionaires and multimillionaires have a sixth to eighth grade education? And actually, the A and B students work for them. So that's just a little side note, just in case you want to have some status. Okay. So anyway, a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. Does it come from if you have any Michael Jordans? Does it come from how many TVs you have? Did it come from your parents? Right? Let's say you had loving and caring parents, right? That took care of you, that set an example to you in their best way, right? Did your value come from them? Or what does the value of this phone that you're looking at me or laptop that you're looking at me on? Well, let's use that as an example. So typically, most phones are subsidized, right? Government subsidized, some subsidized somewhere, right? Okay. But there's a value placed on the iPhone. Let's say the 17, there's a value placed on the Samsung, right? And let's say it's $1,500. Okay. So that manufacturer knows exactly the time, the effort, the money that was placed and put into that phone to be of value. And they looked at the marketplace, they looked at things that happened before, things that are selling now, they looked at competitions, and they came and said, hey, we're going to place a value of $1,500 on this cell phone because this is the idea, this is our exclusive idea, so to speak. This is our creation, and we believe we deserve this amount of money for this particular item that we're going to sell in the public. Okay. So you need to look at yourself as a business unit and what is your value. So here's your homework. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a piece of paper if you're very serious about it. If not, just forget it. But for the serious people that have open minds, write on a piece of paper of what you think that you're worth right now. Okay. You can do it after, you can do it now. Just put a piece of paper. Say, hey, the job that I want right now, I want to make $50,000. What you think you're actually worth. Now, you also have to back that up with character, a work ethic. You have to have some knowledge, right? You have to have some other things, some technical skills in there, right? You have to have some people skills because if people don't like you, you're not going to last long at their job, right? Okay. So value is everything. Since values often strongly influence attitude and behavior, right? That's how you treat. See, you can't give what you haven't got. Remember, I said that last week. That's an actual law, right? If you have hatred in your heart, you're going to give off hatred. So a lot of times, most of the communication is 90% in the body language, right? So anyway, inflection. That's a whole nother topic in itself. So attitude is everything. And if you don't, again, if you don't know what your value is, then somebody's going to place a value on you that's going to be usually most of the time, I'd say about 98% lower than you think it is. Even people that are close to you, even people that you live with, even your neighbors and everything, a lot of times, why? Because you got to remember, how much do they value themselves? They can't give what they haven't got. You see where I'm going with this? So what's your point, Tyreek? You have to know your value and your worth. See, I already know what I'm worth, right? Now, as far as being a spirit, soul, and a body, a triune being, I'm intrinsic. I'm invaluable, right? Because I'm created by the King, right? The Creator, the Lord, right? Okay. But in the marketplace, you have to you should put a number on that, right? And then what you do is you ball it up, right? Write down what I told you to put, Hey, I believe this job or about job that I want to get is I believe I'm worth 50,000 or 100,000 or 150,000 or a quarter million or something like that. Write it down. Okay, stare at it a little bit. Recite it over and over and over again and record it in your audio track here, right? And then what I want you to do is throw it away, right? And so you're forever going to remember that right there, that figure that you had for yourself. Okay. And then what I want you to do is write down what books do I need to read to equate to that actual value. Okay. So if you're making 10 bucks an hour, shoot for 12. What do you need to do to get to that 12? Or maybe you want to make 15, right? Maybe you're making 25 an hour and you want to make 35 an hour, right? Forget about the number and write down a list of books. I need to read some people skill books, right? Relationship books, right? Whatever financial, whatever it is, invest in yourself. Okay. And guess what? You forget about the dollar amount and increase your value, it'll go up. Now, here's the last but not least thing is that because you value yourself, there's still going to be people who don't value you. So you got to know when to let that go. See, the king intrinsically values you, Christ, the anointed king, right? Because he created you and I, right? Whether you know it or not, okay? If you're a different religion, keep listening to me because you have an open mind and I applaud you, okay? So one thing you need to learn about a king is that when he gives a decree, there's nothing that anybody can do about it, okay? So, for instance, let's say you've been at a job for 5 years and they're not valuing you. And you're coming early, you're staying late, you're doing the best that you can, you're giving all you got, right? Well, you have to remember something is that job position is only worth that amount of money to them. Okay. Now, the Lord, the King, sees you going the extra mile. It's called the law of the extra mile. You should write that down. The law of the extra mile. Doing things that you know you need to do, that's right for however long you need to do it, whether you get applauded or not. But he's keeping track. You see what I'm saying? Now, that's only if you are a kingdom citizen and kingdom ambassador, right? If you've met the king, if you've been washed in his blood, if not, okay? If you're not, then that doesn't apply to you, right? You're a child of the devil, okay? And that's when you need to have an open heart and you need to receive and you need to repent, change your thinking, and you need to meet the king. You need to get washed in his blood. You need to ask for forgiveness and tell him to come inside you and cleanse you. So God, the Holy Ghost, the powerhouse, I like to say the powerhouse can actually be on the inside of you and you can reconnect back to, like I said before in Genesis, and reconnect to the vision that God has put in your heart that he wants you to accomplish to glorify him. Okay, so it's not about us, it's about him. See, now getting back to that decree, if you're plugged in, right? If you're a kingdom citizen, you're an ambassador and you're going your extra mile, you're like, man. So number one, he has you there for a reason. Number two, let's just say there's some layoffs. And believe you me, there's a whole bunch of financial things that's coming. Whether people believe this or not, I already know I have really good sources and I have these sources who already let me know. It's definitely coming, right? So there's gonna be a lot of people that lose their job. But if you're obeying the king's laws, right, you're doing the best you can. When you sin, when you rebel, when you mess up against the king, what do? You repent. You change your thinking. You ask for forgiveness. You realign yourself back up. Why? Because you value him and you value yourself. You love yourself. Okay. Now, when he decrees it, let's just say there's some layoffs happen. If he wants you still at that job, right? So another foreign nation or another person, the person who owns the company could sell it. And if the king decrees you to stay at that job for a purpose, right? To serve somebody else, right? Guess what's going to happen? You can have all 1,000 employees lined up and they'll skip right over you if you're aligned there with his kingdom principles. Now, let's say you're not aligned, right? Let's say you're a child of the devil, right? A child of Satan. You didn't get born again. You didn't get into his kingdom, right? But you're still listening to me. I applaud you. You're still my brother. I'm just expecting you and hoping that you'll get this kingdom message that I'm coming across to you right now, and you'll understand that you're worth and you have so much more potential inside you, right? Because if you're a child of the devil right now, you still have spiritual death operating in your spirit and you're not doing good things, right? You know you're not, right? Nobody else has to be around you. He already knows, right? And oh, by the way, he's definitely recording, right? So, like, I'm being recorded right now. People are watching me all around the world. Good, bad, indifferent. Doesn't matter, right? Good intentions, bad intentions don't matter to me, okay? But he's recording all of us. And here's another thing, too. He's outside of time that you didn't think about. Here's another thing you didn't think about, maybe not. He's outside of time, so there is no time in the realm that he's at. Okay. So he knows the end from the beginning. So he already knows all of our intentions of what we're doing when we're doing it before we even do it. And all the thousands of thoughts that we think today, or millions of thoughts before we do it, right? He knows all the people who's going to end up eventually in his kingdom and who's not, right? People who is going to hell. Hell is jail, and prison is the lake of fire, right? And that's actually scientifically proven that there's volcanoes in the heart of the earth. There's a huge lake, gigantic lake. That's why they erupts down there. Okay. All right. Now, so you have to value yourself. Okay. Please value yourself because there's people counting on you. Right. If you gave up on yourself, listen, I believe in you. Okay. I know that there is an assignment that you are a solution to a specific problem in your generation, right? So let me get off here. I was on here a little bit too long, but I wanted to share that with you because we're heading into Thanksgiving. And think about things that you're thankful for, just the small things, okay? The small things. Think about the smallest little things, your next breath, your next heartbeat, right? Think about the food that you're about to eat, you're already eating, right? Because believe you me, life can change just like that, right? I know of a lot of people who had some money, right? And they got the bragging, they were narcissistic, and I got this and I got that and everything like that. And you know what? Some years later on, when you wrapped around, broke. Actually, they weren't broke. Broke is zero. They were in debt, right? So there's some things that can do. Remember, it's all law based. Man, it took me a while to get that. Everything is law based. If you're hating on people, if you're lying, you're cheating, you're stealing everything, you're breaking laws here or there. And what you're doing is you're building a case against yourself, right? Because the king sees everything. And here's the kicker. Here's what I learned about myself. Here's what I learned about all mankind. Those laws have judgments in them, good judgments and bad judgments and indifferent judgments. And he knows exactly where every person is on this planet, right? And who belongs to him and who doesn't belong to him. Okay. And so my prayer for you is that if you've been devalued by the world and by other people, that you get into the kingdom book, that you learn, that you get some people skill books, you get them all in you and block the negative and increase your value. You're going to love yourself so much. So if the whole world comes against you, it doesn't matter because he loves you and you love you, and it doesn't matter, right? You see what I'm saying? So that's what you have to have etched in the cornerstone. It has to be a cornerstone, right? When you're building a building, you have a cornerstone right there. You have to start off with a corner, a foundation of the foundation. It has to be a cornerstone of principles that you have to live by. Core values, right? Core values. I'm just doing core values. Okay, so I'm done. You guys have a great, great, great weekend. I'll be back on Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. And I will get into my next topic, which will be an extension of what I talked about a couple of days ago. Okay, so you guys have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Don't forget the homework. And please value yourself, because if you don't value yourself, nobody else will. And they're going to treat you like trash. Why? Because you didn't take the time out to value yourself, which means you think that you're trash. And I'm here to tell you that you're not. Okay? All right, guys, you have a great night. Take care.